have to have a sizzle reel. You can't walk in anymore with just something on paper. You have to have your proof of concept. It's a visual medium, what we do, whatever it is.
How do you go about finding financing for your projects?
All different kinds of ways. I mean, the traditional way for financing is you pitch a project and you get either a company or a streamer to fund it for you. You go out and pitching, and it's never been more difficult to go that route. You have to have something that is undeniable. And what does that mean? At least in the unscripted world is where I'm pitching a lot. So you have to have something that people just feel like is a known entity, or the story is so wild, like how could it go wrong? There's not a lot of risk taking as far as taking a chance on something that might not sell. Like true crime's gonna sell traditionally. Big biopics on known figures, especially in sports. Follow docs of a team or somebody, a celebrity. Those are the things traditionally in unscripted that sell. Another way, so that's one way. I found in scripted, if you can get an actor attached, but you have to be able to get to that known actor to raise some funds. So the way that I went about it in my scripted is I put up a lot of my own money and also asked some other people that I knew. I gave them, they're like investors in the film. And really, and I was, to be honest with you, I'd rather lose my own money than other people's money, which kind of goes against that. But then I feel like I've harmed them maybe in some way. So I tried to tell the people, you're probably not going to get your money back. Especially in most indie movies, unless it's like a Terrifier, like a horror movie, a lot of them don't make their money back or make a profit. So unless it's a micro budget, meaning like under $100,000 or something. So you're doing this not as a sound financial investment. You're doing this because it's almost like charitable, getting the story told, some themes, because there were themes of addiction. Some people felt passionate about that, or they just love movies. So that's another way. And I think with unscripted now, you have to have a sizzle reel. You can't walk in anymore with just something on paper. You have to have your proof of concept. It's a visual medium, what we do, whatever it is. Even with a known entity, I just did something with John Gotti. We did a sizzle reel for that. And I have another really big story I'm working on and had to put a sizzle reel together. In fact, even for your scripts, you should maybe put a sizzle reel together because it's really hard to get people to read. Really hard. I've had a hard time getting people to watch the trailer for my movie. It's 1 minute long. A minute. You can do anything in a minute. Anything. And I just can't, getting someone to click on it. It's difficult. So you're asking somebody to read, and a lot of times their perception is, oh, most things I read aren't good anyway, or you read a lot of stuff that's not. So I've made like a trailer for the script, for a couple of my scripts, where one of them was a true story about a UFC fighter, and I told his story, and another was a made-up story where I had the actors talk about what it was and run a scene and do things. So that's another way to find funding. And you know, they say don't spend your own money. I did. I went against that rule, but I just looked at it like it was going to be a loss, but it was going to be a gain for me personally. That's how I felt.
So you've put your own money into films, and I think you said that you knew that there was a good chance that you wouldn't get the money back, but you did it for yourself, for your career, to keep projects going. Do you regret it?
Well, I've only put my own money up for my scripted film. I have put my own money up to do sizzle reels, to sell projects, but I look at that as an investment, and the investment is in myself. I'm investing in myself. And sometimes in this industry, you can step over dollars to pick up pennies, and I'll back it up with another cliche. I'm trying to see the forest from the trees, the bigger picture. So maybe I'm losing money in the short term, but it will pay dividends in the long term. And I was investing in my dream. This has been a dream of mine to make a film. And making the movie has been probably the most rewarding experience in my entire life besides being a father. I would put it a close number two, pretty close with my kids. So they better fly right. So yeah, and it was incredible. The experience of filming it, coming together, to actually see it come to fruition. You can't put a price on some things. You can't put a price on. I think that's important to realize. Of course, money's important. I'm not wealthy. I saved for a number of years. My son's going to in-state college. That helps. Instead of, sorry, you're not going to be going abroad or to another state school. So, and then having the premiere and seeing just the joy of everyone that worked on the film and the people's responses to the film. And just, I had somebody at one of the showings in Charlotte who drove 2 hours, and he said, I just came because there were UFC fighters. I didn't even know what this was about. And he said, I was in rehab, and I said, I'm just blown away by this movie. I'm like speechless. And this guy was like in tears talking to me, and just that response. This was a person that reviewed the movie, and she messaged me privately and said, I don't talk about this, but I lost my brother in a drunk driving accident. And the scene where the character said, don't judge me by my worst mistake, she said, that hit me so hard, and I started crying when I saw that, and I've held on to so much anger. Thank you, Rory. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so it's worth it for that. I really would love to direct another film. I mean, do it where maybe I'm actually getting paid to direct a scripted film would be pretty cool. And I would, but it's been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life to make this movie. And it really, career-wise, there's not been a close second. I've had so many good experiences, but this was like, the actual making of the movie, going back to pre-production, was a full 4 years. 4 years it took to bring it to the screen. And then before that, it gestated as another project for like 8 years. So a really long chunk of time. So I would say if you have some money and you can part with it and feel okay that you'll never see it again, you just wave goodbye. Hey, people take vacations with their money. You don't get that money back. You do it for the experience. People go on, think about that. They spend sometimes $30,000, $40,000 to go on maybe it's a European trip or a big cruise. Maybe I'm inflating that number a little bit. Maybe they bring the family or a wedding. People spend a lot of money on weddings.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Why? Because they want it to be an unforgettable experience. You know,
there's some ego in there too.
Maybe, you know, but wedding, I think I've known people that have spent $100,000 on a wedding, and much more later on the divorce. But
sure.
Yeah, so if you're gonna spend $100, why not $100 on a film? Because that's something that it's a tangible thing that you get at the end. I've learned. You talk about courage. What is courage? What is courage? To me, courage is being afraid but moving forward anyway. That's real courage. That's what the soldiers did in Normandy, right? They knew what they were doing. They were going into battle. They were frightened. They knew they were probably going to get killed, and they still did it anyway. I mean, obviously, that's a big comparison to making movies, but there's a lot of fear. Am I a fraud? Are people not going to listen to me? Are people not going to like me? Do I not know what I'm doing? A lot of times it's easier to have the fantasy of being a filmmaker than to actually make it. Because then if you do it and you fail, then the realization hits, I'm a failure. And so what? You failed at that one. You learned, you tried to do it again. So I think it's okay to be scared. I did a film on Georges St-Pierre, one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. And he would say before a fight, he would be so frightened. He would throw up from fear of being embarrassed, fear of getting hurt. And he said he would look at himself in the mirror and tell himself that you're going to do this. And I think it's very important to talk to yourself more than listening to that other voice in your head. You got to tell yourself, fake it till you make it a little bit, is what I tell people. You say you belong, and suddenly you'll believe it. It's like a little Jedi mind trick. So if you're on the fence, if you're feeling a little fearful, move forward anyway. It's good. That's what courage is. Courage doesn't mean you don't have fear. It means you do have fear, but you're going to do it anyway.